definitely creating content that helps people is really the solution.
What really works is building a community, consistently doing events like webinars, and producing content specifically for certain categories.
You earn that raise and you earn that job.
Welcome to Future Fuzz, the digital marketing podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the next edition of Future Fuzz, the digital marketing podcast with a B2B focus. Today I'm joined by Steffen Hedebrandt, who is the Chief Marketing Officer and one of the co-founders at Dreamdata, a leading revenue attribution platform that enables B2B marketing teams to optimize and automate their marketing efforts with confidence. A seasoned marketing leader known for his no-nonsense, results-orientated approach, Steffen has a proven track record of scaling companies and building high-performing teams at Upwork and Airtime. With hands-on experience in tackling the challenges of rapid growth, he understands what it takes to drive success in today's fast-paced marketing environment. Steffen calling in from Copenhagen today. Thank you very much for joining Future Fuzz.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for this nice introduction, Justin. I'm happy to take part.
Great to have you here. So tell us a bit about the story of Dreamdata. So where did it all start? What was the vision?
Yeah, I think the vision started, the story started two places. One in Airtime, where I was the marketing leader back, that's now six years ago, where I always had a desire to try to positively impact the business through marketing. But since it was a B2B business, it was not really that straightforward to say we did X, Y, and Z, and then we got this revenue out. So I started getting more and more curious about how do you actually answer this question in a B2B world, whereas in B2C, you run an ad, somebody clicks the ad, and then they buy the running shoe. But it doesn't work like that in B2B. Somebody clicks your ad, and then there's 200 days before the B2B contract is signed. So that question I was really curious about. And at the end of my tenure there, I happened to meet my now two co-founders, Lars and Ole, who were leading the product at Trustpilot, that had been kind of going at this problem from a technical point of view, saying that they knew their product was signing up thousands of accounts every single month, but they didn't have a lot of clarity of what were the good accounts, what were the good channels, what happens from the point of time where a free account on Trustpilot was created until they sold to these accounts. So they had been going at a technical solution that could kind of monitor every moving bit of those journeys. And I guess we just happened to meet each other at the right time where I knew the problem by heart as a marketer and they had a technical solution. And here we are 6 years later.
Amazing. Do you all feel like you've let's say gelled together as a founding team? Because it's not easy, to start up, and it's definitely not easy to get to 6 years in and almost, 60 employees globally. So how do you all make that work?
I guess you need a big portion of luck on top of things. You can try to do a rational decision, but you don't always know how it's going to work out. I think I kind of, if I just think about how I dared to jump into co-founding a company, I think my sense was kind of that I've always wanted to try to have my own company, but also I knew that this was a very important problem by heart because I've been trying to kind of come up with semi-good solutions in the past without finding any. So I knew that if somebody actually had a technology that could solve this, there's a huge market out there. And then it's a bit like dating. You need to meet up a bunch of times, discuss different things, try to learn each other, learn who they are. And in the end, we managed to make things work. And obviously you need to compromise here and there and respect somebody is more knowledgeable on certain topics. And then you let them decide when it comes to certain kinds of topics. But it's been going fine for the first 6 years. And maybe let's see if there's another 6 years in us.
Yeah, great. I do love the dating analogy. So you go on a few dates at the beginning and then you're forming of that relationship, probably just a little bit less romance. Yeah. Let's dive into then the problems that, Dreamdata is solving? Because you touched on it there at the beginning of the conversation. So in a B2C world, it's maybe more lineal. It's, let's say, some people would say it's more simplistic. Some people would argue that it's not the case. But in a B2B decision-making process, they're complicated. There are many, many, many factors involved. And depending on the complexity of the service or product that you're selling, the sales cycle might be really long, right? It might be years. So what is one of the key problems that you're solving with the platform from the get-go?
Yeah, you touched on some very important circumstances for why this problem is like it is in B2B. So we just released some benchmarks actually last week that kind of concluded that from the average one customer, from first touch to one amongst our customers, it takes 211 days. So it's a very long time frame between activity or first activity and money.
211 days.
Yeah, and then I think the average deal had 6 stakeholders associated. So there's 6 people. And then you can say 6 people times 2 or 3 devices. Then you can add that to that complexity, that information about the customer journey resides in many different data silos. There's some parts in the CRM system, some parts in your email system, some parts in some calling software, some parts on the ad platform, some parts on your website and so forth. And what we do at Dreamdata is that we basically, in simple terms, we build a cable into all these many different data silos that you have about your B2B customer journeys. And then we extract all the bits and pieces of your customer journeys out of the silos and build you one kind of holistic image of every account that you do business with, and what are all the touches, the people, the devices on these accounts. And once all that is cleaned up, you can answer these questions about how long does it take. What's the best ads? What's the worst ads? Should you do more of? What should you do less of?
Yeah, amazing. And then you mentioned there are different platforms that you're plugging into to get hold of that data. So would I be right in saying that there may be some data coming across from Google Ads and then the CRM that the company is using?
Absolutely. I think this is where we can talk a little bit about the importance of an ideal customer profile and sticking to a strategy, because we have kind of determined that the ideal customers of our company are B2B companies and highly digital B2B companies. Oftentimes they're software companies. And that means that they typically use the same kind of technology and they use the same kinds of ad platforms. That is the Google ads, LinkedIn ads, Meta ads, maybe are they called X ads, Bing ads nowadays. So we've built native integrations to all these typical platforms that our ideal customer profile would typically use. So nowadays we actually don't get that many requests to add new data sources because we do plug into what is commonly used within our ideal customer profile. Yeah, that's kind of just for all of you out there that haven't defined your ideal customer profile. I can just tell you that there's huge benefits of actually once you start committing to selling to only a certain type of B2B companies.
Yeah, indeed. And what about then the choice of, let's say, CRM platforms? I'm just curious, what do you most commonly see? Are they, first of all, which platforms do they use and are they using them well enough? Yeah.
Our customers use Salesforce, HubSpot, Pipedrive, and Microsoft Dynamics. These are the platforms that we've built proprietary integrations to. Whether they use them well enough, I'm not gonna. Maybe not, maybe yes. But I think the most important thing is that we are able to, if they're not using it in a good way or if it's a bit too messy, utilizing Dreamdata, we're able to tell them back. Some of the mess in your data probably comes from over here. And if you correct these things, it will clean up a little bit.
Okay, perfect. And then one of the key things that a lot of marketers face challenges with is knowing if their campaigns are effective, right? Knowing that the things that they're doing are actually making an impact. So, I mean, let's dive into the area of like wasted budget and ineffective campaigns, which is wasted budget is kind of the marketer's nightmare, right? Yeah. And it's also the nightmare of the financial officer as well. How does the platform solve that? And what thoughts and advice do you have on that area of running campaigns?
So here I have to get a little bit technical and explain how our data model works. We do an account-based timeline as opposed to a timeline of individuals. This means that Justin might be starting the research, but Steffen is the guy who signs the contract. But because we have unified them into one journey, then if you're the one searching on Google for, let's say, B2B attribution, end up on our website, and then we win the deal as Steffen comes through 6 months later and buying, that would be part of the same timeline. Now, if you're utilizing Google Ads, when it switches between two people, they would be completely lost. Yeah. So by the fact of you having an account-based timeline enables you to stack. I mentioned the 6 stakeholders before on average.
Sure.
So stack all of these into the same timeline, and you can see all the touches that are influencing the journeys of the account that you win.
Do you then need to have the contact data for all of those 6 decision makers in the CRM, or does you just need to have a general idea of who those decision makers could be?
No, we don't make up stuff. We run on like actual deterministic first party, second party data. So that means that either you have them in your CRM where you can see you've been emailing to them, they've been part of meetings, or they came through on a website or an ad platform where they identified themselves as being these specific people. So to return to answer your question about ROI and so forth, because we have every single journey you've won, all the ad spend you've done, and we also know the value of the different journeys, then we're able to say, look, you spent this much, for example, on Google Ads. This is how much revenue we can see has been recorded in the CRM system that you have won from these sources or these channels or these campaigns. And then you can granularly go through all the different campaigns that you have running. And even with this time scope of maybe 6 months or 12 months, we can tell you this is where you have invested money and you got more back than in what you spent. And over here, there's a bunch of campaigns that are running that is not yielding any return. And you probably want to consider either stopping them or at least optimizing them.
Yeah, that's the golden thing, right? If you can feed back that information to teams, then that's really, really powerful.
Yeah.
I've got a question then on the kinds of companies that go into these sales cycles and have relatively long sales cycles or complex sales cycles, or they have many, many touch points in a journey. So I'm just curious, what sort of deal values do you see people convert on the campaigns that they run?
Oh, that varies.
It varies massively, I bet. Yeah.
There's anything from like 4 digits to 6 digits average contract value. So it really depends on the companies.
Yeah, but that just shows that the platform could be used by any size of company, right?
Yeah, I would typically say if you're selling to micro businesses where it's kind of a solo entrepreneur, then the problem wouldn't be as bad as if you're billing to these larger buying committees, more complex sales cycles. There's some B2B that are almost like B2C or e-commerce where the complexity is less, but if you have an inside sales team, if you do account-based marketing, if you have long journeys, that's where we really can help people understand what's working and what's not working.
Do you provide any real-time signals in the platform?
Yeah, so we're actually releasing a signals product now where a signal is something that is part of your customer journeys that has a strong correlation with revenue. So we're releasing a product now that kind of monitors the whole data warehouse that contains all the data about your customer journeys. We are now releasing a product that kind of helps you identify the signals and then push these accounts to the relevant salespeople once these signals occur. So you don't have to sit back and wait for them to actively hand raise. Just them doing a signal isn't enough for your sales team to pay attention to them. So I'll give you a simple example of a signal could be somebody is checking out our security documentation. I think that's like 10% of the time that ends up becoming a deal for us.
Wow, okay.
Where a weak signal is you got an impression from a LinkedIn ad. There's still a very long way before you become a customer. if
Right.
it's what, but that's the magic of our data warehouse, our product, basically, that it can monitor all activity and send the signals to the right people at the right time.
Do you have to then have the content being gated, for example? Do people need to punch in their email address to download something?
No. So the short answer is no. There's a longer answer as well, is because we do IP to company resolution. So if you are sitting at an IP address that belongs to a company we are aware of, we know. We also, before you have identified yourself, will track you as being an anonymous visitor. Mm-hmm. But once you submit a form, we link together, this is Justin from this company, and all the other sessions that he had was actually also Justin from these companies. And when he comes back, we also know that it's Justin. So we have kind of a user and device graph that kind of gets stronger over time. So we know who people are, even if like the next session you don't identify yourself.
Yeah, and our HubSpot has a pretty rudimentary scoring system. Do you go any deeper on lead scoring and account scoring?
So I haven't utilized the HubSpot system myself. We have an equivalent, we call it an engagement score, where we monitor how much an account is engaging with your company. So that is typically website activity, exposure to ads, intent data collected from G2 or something like that. With that one, we deliberately don't call a lead score, but an engagement score, because I'm getting lucky that it's buying behavior, but it's engagement. The signals instead, that is actually something where we can say, now we've studied a lot of paths, and we know if they're showing these kinds of signals that this is somebody you need to pay attention to, because this is a signal of people normally coming in to buy.
I'm delighted to speak about our sponsors today, Dreamdata, who have joined us for the show. B2B marketers often struggle to connect their efforts to real revenue. If you're tired of not knowing which marketing activities are actually working, Dreamdata can help. Dreamdata is a B2B attribution and activation platform that helps companies understand what drives revenue and act on that insight. Unlike traditional attribution tools that only report on past performance, Dreamdata makes it easy to turn insights into action. You can automatically sync high-intent audiences and conversion data directly into LinkedIn, Google, Meta, and Bing, ensuring that your marketing spend goes towards the accounts most likely to convert. Right now, you can get started with Dreamdata for free and see how it can help your business grow. Visit dreamdata.io to start your free trial or book a demo today. Dreamdata, measure what works, make it happen more. Perfect, Steffen. So I'm curious what's next for the platform. Are you going to be integrating any AI into the tooling, or have you done so already?
Yeah, we're slowly dipping our toes now, and I think it's something we've always been very interested in doing. But I think also a lot of companies have kind of been burned a little bit by cost, by jumping in too early before the big LLM models have become available at a price where you can search something to customers without just being a quick, fun gadget. So given that Dreamdata basically creates a data warehouse for you that contains all your go-to-market data of all your customer journeys, there's obviously many interesting things for AI to take a look at. I'll give you some of the examples that we are looking at right now. One being kind of AI signals, meaning that we can kind of, in a dumb human way, we can categorize signals as being important, but we can also let AI scan all your go-to-market data and then help us identify and group the best kind of signals. We're also working with summaries of the different reports that is inside of Dreamdata, like this is your Google ad spend, get a summary of that. get a summary of what were the best webinars that you hosted last year. So all these kind of filtering that you can do inside of Dreamdata, you can soon, I should say, can you get them to get AI to kind of analyze that. But it's an area where we are continuing to explore, where kind of it not just becomes a gadget, but it actually becomes something truly valuable for the customers.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it on many platforms where all of a sudden overnight they just implement some AI feature when actually it doesn't really provide any value. It doesn't really help. And also it's very expensive for those organizations. So it's got to fit well, right?
Yeah, and the worst part being those organizations that went to their website and then slapped AI on the AI word top of all their features. And I think conceptually they're misunderstanding what AI is. AI is not the feature or is not the value.
Yeah.
You deliver a value and then you use AI to get faster to or easier to that value for the consumer. And that's something, as the honeymoon period of AI wears off, we'll just realize, hey, we're all using AI, and it's still about the value and the use cases that we're delivering to our customers.
Yeah, indeed. It's the fundamental. I mean, we didn't name this podcast Future Fuzz Driven by AI podcast, but we use it in a lot of our workflows, right? And we're not slapping AI all over the place. But no, I think there's definitely aspects for all platforms where it's going to provide a lot of value. But yeah, it needs to be useful. Yeah,
I use it all the time.
daily, right? Good. So then one of the massive challenges in B2B, marketing and looking at sales journeys is really understanding how what you're doing has an impact, and then attributing your activity to a marketing conversion or a sales conversion, right? Attribution, it's huge. Now, a lot of companies struggle with this because they don't really know what they're doing is actually having an impact on that sales process, is actually contributing to revenue. So do you have any thoughts and any developments that will be coming for attribution?
I think I'm not the type who brags too much, but I think we have already kind of almost solved that kind of multi-touch attribution problem for B2B companies. And I think the problem we face is that the general market don't know how big a problem they sit with their current technology stack. And I can give you a few examples. CRM systems, they typically have something called original source or something of that like,
right?
Where they say, what was the session in which we captured this contact? And that 9 out of 10 times will say direct, because yes, the point of time where the person trusted you enough to download your news, subscribe to your newsletter, download your ebook or book a demo was in this session. But don't gain trust or awareness about you overnight. And what we can see, for example, when we have a demo call booked on our website, it takes an average of 5 sessions. And the last session is always direct. But the first session, that's where you get the magic component, because that is where you get in front of these people that are relevant to your company. And then the next time they come to you, they might be Googling your name and then taking the organic or paid search path. And the next session again, now your brand name sticks in the browser, and then they end up directly on your website. And what we can kind of help our customers is to understand that path of what were actually the first touch, and not kind of the original source that the CRM system will wrongfully tell you.
What's your opinion on those things then that can't be tracked? So how do you help clients try and understand that part of the puzzle?
Yeah, I think you're definitely right, Justin. There's many things that can be valuable that doesn't easily lend itself to being tracked. The stuff that is very easy to track, which is kind of campaigns in the CRM system, clicks on ads, visits to website, exchange of business cards that are registered, etc. But then there's also I met this guy at this conference and it was valuable, or I did a LinkedIn post and I saw this guy from this company that we're trying to win, he commented on it. Those kinds of things, I actually suggest people to keep like some kind of screenshot qualitative folder.
Oh yeah.
Shared marketing drives where
Yeah.
if you can see a certain pattern that really supports some kind of marketing activity you do, but it doesn't really lend itself to being digitally or like quantifiably tracked, but then do the second best thing, which is gather all these evidence. So the next time, if somebody is questioning whether you're doing the right or wrong, could be like you're running a podcast and people continuously mention this podcast on LinkedIn or in Slack groups or something like that. And take all those screenshots and have them in a folder. So once you start getting questioned, you'll just share, oh, we have this folder. And then multiple times every month, people mentioned our podcast. So that's at least one approach to better being able to show the evidence of stuff working that are not like digitally easy to track.
Sure, yeah. But it's actually a really, really good tip because you could take screenshots of those engagements and other things happening as well, put that into a model and then, try and, automate it in some way so you could pull even more data together.
That said, kind of, we basically empower our users to use, for example, a Google Sheet and say date, activity, company, person. So if you wanted to manually type in the things that you think matters, you can do that, and that will go to the customer journeys as well. But in a general advice, just take a lot of screenshots that kind of supports the story of your marketing activities.
Great. So let's dive into one of your success stories, one of many success stories, I should say, where you worked with a company called Insight Software. So can you explain to us what you helped Insight Software do in order for them to, have a better experience and run better campaigns?
Yeah, it's there's a lot of we have many customers, and I think there's some typical patterns that kind of repeats itself. You can probably bucket it into maybe two categories. One being attribution, and then another one being ability to orchestrate your ad spend a bit smarter or more effectively. If we start with the first one, attribution, I think what many B2B companies suffer from is that they're forced to optimize all their ad spend on very surface level metrics like clicks to a website or email conversions. But we all know in B2B that it's not about collecting 1,000 emails. It's actually about doing more of what generates your sales pipeline or even help you win deals. And for customers like Insight Software that sells a complex product and have a long journey, we're enabling to optimize their ad spend towards these business outcomes that matters. So instead of helping them generate more emails or leads, we actually can help them generate more sales pipeline by giving them this transparency into what's actually working or not. And then they distribute their budget accordingly. The other thing is that we do have something called Dreamdata's Audience Hub, which is basically a filtering system that any marketer can use to create audience either of contacts or companies. And then you can push these audiences into ad platforms. In like, for example, my personal favorite being LinkedIn ads, because we're a B2B company. And we're very, very strong filtering on its companies in North America, in this industry, with this size. And then you can make sure your ads are actually hitting the right accounts. And once they don't fulfill the criteria you set up, they will leave the audiences again. So Insight Software is amongst others, utilizing that feature to kind of really orchestrate their whole ad spend nowadays.
I think lookalike audiences can be really powerful on LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is not the cheapest platform in the world to run adverts on at all. And there's a lot of wasted spend there. So can you dive into a little bit more detail there? So did Insight Software upload data into the platform and then it built further audiences from there? Or actually, could they?
I don't know how they particularly do it. And in many cases, it's actually the opposite of you can do both lookalike audiences and specifically matched audiences. A lot of B2B companies, they will actually know their total addressable market or their ICP, so they can set up definitions. And then they know that they don't want companies outside this definition. And that's where LinkedIn offers something called matched audiences. So you're sure that you're actually only serving ads to companies that are specifically like this. You can even go as far as then targeting their job functions. So only people in marketing or only people in sales. I don't have too much experience with running lookalike audiences on LinkedIn, but I think it depends on the type of product you have. Is there millions of potential users out there? Then probably lookalike audiences can be great. But if you know exactly who you want to be running your ads towards, then you probably don't want to allow the algorithm the freedom to just really and find more people like that. And then just one last comment. Yeah. So then, but I do have great experience with lookalike audiences on Facebook back in its honeymoon period where the competition was low and you could target for 6 or 12 months or something like that. So back in my old company, Airteam, we used to do that a lot and it was highly successful.
The good old days, unfortunately, have long gone.
PR days. That was Facebook was a great place to market back then.
Brilliant indeed. Great. So anyone that's listening, do you have any ways that they can get started with Dreamdata? Do you have any offers?
Yeah, we actually have a free product that allows people to get access to this, basically this free IP to company tracking on their website. So they'll be able to track their website like Google Analytics, but they will also get the IP to company resolution for free. So they will know if you're a smaller company, who's on your website, what are they doing, and you'll have this list of accounts that you can then send to your salespeople if they want to go chase them. Maybe an easier way to start is the benchmark report that I briefly mentioned. We released last week, which is a LinkedIn and B2B customer journey benchmark list, which I highly advise people to go check out because I think the length of the journeys will shock people. I mentioned the 211 days. It's really a long time. And that is the average journey. Some are longer, some are shorter. But it matters immensely if you're in B2B marketing because our job is to make the sales team successful. And that also means that if we're in Q4 and the sales team doesn't have enough demand in Q4, well, it's too late to actually provide them with quality demand. We need to be 1 or at best 2 quarters ahead of sales teams' desire for sales pipeline in order for them, for all the seeds that you plant with marketing to have enough time to prosper into like real demand.
Let's go into that again. It is a bit of a mind-blowing thing. So your report, which people can find on your website and also track down Steffen on LinkedIn as well. So going into the report, the sales cycle or the journey was 211 days on average.
Yes. So that's from the first touch on the account until the deal is won. So that is like the first touch that then passes through on average of 6 people, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
That's somewhat 60 or 70 sessions that are recorded during those 211 days.
And the companies were they all tech companies, or were they from different disciplines?
So they're all B2B companies. Let's say 80% of them are somewhat tech companies.
And the ticket size anywhere from 6 figures to upwards.
4 figures annual
4 figures
value to 6-figure contract values.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is quite broad, but I guess if they're in the B2B space or the technology space, etc., and then 6 people in the organization, and do you have any idea on the titles? That could vary. Yeah.
Because like I can tell you how our buying committee typically looks, but that wouldn't be the same if you do medical equipment or you're in financial software or stuff like that.
Yeah, but I'm sure that there's always 1 or 2 people that appear in every single user journey, buyer journey, right? Procurement and finance.
And data security for our sake as well.
Yeah, data security in terms of like your
protection officer many people have nowadays.
Yeah, even in smaller companies as well, right?
It also means that actually, that's maybe a side note just how to do good B2B marketing nowadays, that you need to think about this buying committee. And it's not enough just to convince that one champion that really gets you, because that champion needs to go back to his company, and then he or she has, 4 to 6 people that they need to convince as well. And if there's always a CFO in there, make sure there's some content for the CFO.
Yeah.
As a data protection officer is always there. Make sure that there's content for this person as well. So your champion actually have an easier time convincing these people that you're the vendor to go with.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, that people need to think about their buying committee. I like that phrase, because it really is a committee, right? So I only just spoke to someone this morning who said, yeah, we have to go back and speak to our team. And I was like, okay, well, let's stop there. Who's in your team? And I'm like, okay, well, it's a marketing guy and it's a technical team lead, etc. So yeah, that's a really, really important point to think about the buying committee. Steffen, where can people find you? Maybe you can go over it again, where you're on LinkedIn or on your website, and download the report.
If you want to check our website or find the report, it's dreamdata.io. And they can just look up my name, Steffen Hedebrandt, on LinkedIn. I probably spend way too much time there, so I'm happy to connect and answer any questions people might have.
Steffen, how do you enable clients to then run smarter campaigns?
Yeah, well, that's one of actually the great things about Dreamdata, is that we actually don't just help people look in hindsight what work. We're also able to take this attribution data and put back into ad platforms. So when you're buying ads from ad platforms, you can automatically train the ad platform to know what good customers, good prospects look like for you. And what I mean by that is that you don't, as a B2B company, just want to be optimizing towards those who click through to your website or easily convert on a form. You actually want to optimize the ad platforms in a circular movement on who's actually reaching our sales pipeline, who's actually becoming new business. And that is one of the innovative ways we found that we can use attribution data to automatically make your ad buying more efficient.
And do they need like a huge set of data in order to do that, or
it runs completely automatically once you set up Dreamdata? We start tracking your full journey. We know which accounts reach certain stages. We know which ad platforms they touched before they reach these stages. And then we ship back this information to major ad platforms.
And do you have any data on like increased efficiency on spend? Do you have any information on that?
Like LinkedIn actually did a study based on this, and they claimed that it cut down their CPA by 20% by enabling this. So that's kind of one of the fantastic benefits for our customers, is that as soon as they enable this, in theory or in a generalized study, then you make yourself 20% more effective without doing anything.
Amazing. And 20% on a LinkedIn ad campaign is a huge improvement indeed, on any campaign. In fact, if you can do that, yeah. You've got my mind buzzing now. I'm just thinking about all that offline data that we've got and some of our clients have got. They should be using that in their campaigns for sure.
That would be great.
Brilliant. Love it. Steffen, thank you very much for joining the pod.
Thank you, Justin.
Thanks for tuning in and making the choice to listen to this podcast. If you liked what you've heard today, please don't forget to subscribe.